The wingtip bow is finished and all installed, and it looks beautiful. Too beautiful almost to be covered up with fabric. We've got the leading edges all on and buttoned down, and they look pretty good on there now. So for all intents and purposes, that wing is ready to put fabric on it. So I was kind of waiting on covering it up because I talked to my mechanic the other day. I was wanting to see if he wanted to come up and do a little inspection on the structure of the wing before I put cover on it, and he mentioned that he might be coming up this last week. Oh, I haven't heard from him. He hasn't showed up yet. But there was another thing that I was kind of waiting for here before I covered it up. We got a little care package from Atlee Dodge yesterday. This is one of the things that I was going to put on there before I covered it up. Is we got these wing tie-down brackets. This goes over the wing spar. These spacers fit in there on the spar itself. Then you've got the top of the spar, the bulb angle. It goes here and here, and there's actually holes in the spar for these. These go just outboard of where the wing strut attach fittings are, and then you put the tie downs in here, and that way you're not putting pressure on those wing strut attach fittings. I've already used those holes in there. I was kind of wondering what they were for, but that's what I put the ground wire for the landing light into, was those holes. So these will go right in there, and I can go ahead and put that landing light ground wire right in here. There's a number 3 screw right here, and I put a number 10 screw in the hole to begin with, which is the same size as a number AN3 screw. So anyway, this is kind of what I was waiting for. I called them up Tuesday to order them. They said they would get them out Wednesday morning. I figured they'd be here sometime this coming week, but we picked them up at the post office on Saturday, so that's pretty good timing, I'd say, both at the post office and at the Dodge. There's the installation instructions, Atlee Dodge Aircraft Services. And there's an STC form that'll go in the logbook. I have to make out paperwork for that. There's the instructions. Oh. Anyway, the clevis and the ring are not supplied. Well, I don't know. Anyway, those go on before the wing gets covered. And I kind of made a mistake, a little bit of a mistake on these, because looking on their website in their catalog, it had a price for one, and I assumed that meant one of these tie downs, so I ordered 2 of them. Well, when they come, it comes as a kit with 2 tie downs, one for each wing. So I'm going to call them on Monday, on tomorrow, and see if I can't send one of these back, because I don't need 2 sets of tie downs for the airplane. Now the other thing that I got from them, and I've been procrastinating on getting one of these for years because it's kind of expensive for just a piece of plastic, but this is a cover for the rear stick. I've only ridden in the back seat of a Cub one time. I've sat in the back seat of it a few times when I was sitting waiting for my passengers to show up, or while they were out stream walking and stuff, for someplace different to sit than the front seat, because I can stretch my legs out farther in the back seat. But anybody that has ever been in the back seat of a Cub, especially if you're over 5'10" and more than 150 pounds, you know that stick gets kind of, the control stick can get kind of uncomfortable and hit you right in the belly and parts below that. So I took all the rear seat controls out of the Cub, another Atlee Dodge STC that I did several years ago. Took the rudder pedals out and the stick out. And then I shortened the socket for the stick. Now we can still put a stick in there for temporary use, but basically I got it out of there because it got in the way of the backseat passengers, especially for a man. That thing is a nut knocker. But with the stick out of there, the stub of it sticks down low enough that if we ever had a sudden stop or something and a guy slid forward, you'd slide right over onto that stick and skewer yourself with it. The other thing that happens with it is if you've got turbulence and you've got stuff in the airplane and it happens to slide forward, it can jam into the stick. Well, jam the stick up so you don't have any control, and that stick gives you both aileron and elevator control, so that could be a disaster. So anyway, this thing here covers that rear stick up, and it's just fiberglass, so but it was pretty spendy. Like I said, I've been procrastinating getting it for years, but it's a good thing to have in the Cub if you take the rear stick out, especially if you call cargo in there or something, and anything that slides forward in there can jam it up. So anyhow, here's the instructions for it, and you got these little clamps that screw down to the floor plates, and this thing just has these quick clamps to snap it down, and you can just snap it off again and take the thing off and throw it in the back seat or out the window if you need to. So then we can put the stick in, and whoever's in the back seat can drive if necessary. Anyway, I'll get one of these put on that wing spar, and then we'll start covering. I haven't heard from my mechanic, so I don't know if he's going to show up or not, but I can't wait for it. Well, actually, I've been staying pretty busy for the last few days. The weather turned out really nice for the last few days. Since Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday, it cleared off, and it's actually got up to over 60 degrees. It felt like 70 degrees out there the last couple of days outside. So I've been doing quite a bit of work outside, and I've got some more that I can do out there. I've been working on getting my septic system put in for a while now. I started last fall. So we hauled in about 20 loads of material in my dump trailer from a friend's pit and leveled out one of the spots back there, just down by where the bathhouse was, and we got it brought up quite a ways and leveled out. But then I went back behind where the bathhouse was, and we had a garden back there and a raspberry patch back there, and I dug that out and built it up with some of that same material that we hauled in from my friend's pit and got a level spot there. And then I've dug back in the bank for a place to put the septic tank. My son and I got it put in yesterday, mostly. I still got to finish burying it, but we got it in and leveled up, and a 10-yard load of sand, and put sand around it and stuff. I still need to get another 10-yard load of sand. I've got to make a mound system for the septic tank because the ground doesn't perk here, so I've got to make a mound system. But fortunately, I don't have to put a pump or anything in to do that like a lot of people do, because the place where I'm putting the drain field in is down below where the septic tank is. And weather is nice and sunny and warm, and I might as well be doing that. Anyway, that's where we're at now. Here's a forward spar on the left-hand wing, and right down here, either side here, is the outboard portion of the bracket for the strut attach fittings. This is where they attach to the spar. Well, these two holes here are lined up, and those are just outboard of where that bracket attaches to it. Now you can see the top hole here. I've cleaned the paint away from that. That's where I had the grounding bracket strap here for the landing light attached to that, and this is where the tie-down, hurricane tie-down or tie-down, whatever it's called, gets mounted on. It gets mounted onto those two holes right there. Here's the wire for the nav light. I've got it run across the top of the spar here. It runs down with the wiring bundle for the landing light right up here until just before this bay for the landing light, and then I run it up on top of the spar, and it's held on top of the spar with these little clips right here. Well, I'm going to take this clip off. I got to get a screwdriver to take that off with, so that I can pull this wire out around, because this tie down got a bar in here, and that clamps down pretty tight on top of that spar, and if it didn't crush that wire, it'd eventually wear through it and short it out. So I'm going to pull that wire out away from that spar here and let it hang out this side of it a little ways, so that it's not captured underneath that tie down bracket. Now these holes are supposed to be 3/16. You want to run number 3 AN3 bolts through there, or number 10 screw, but they've had paint and stuff in them, so I'm going to go ahead and take a reamer and run the reamer through those holes and just make sure they're clean. So this is steel going into aluminum. I want a good ground on here. I'm going to leave the other side bare, but I'm going to make sure and get peralkatone in those holes and on the bolts. Well, here's the bracket. It's a pretty heavy duty piece of stainless steel. Stretch it out, fit it over the bulb angle on both the top and the bottom. They've actually got instructions for cutting the fabric and putting these in airplanes where the wings are all covered and everything, and that would be a real pain. A little punch, pin punch here. Get those holes lined up as much as possible. Now I looked at these, and you would hope that they would be completely symmetrical, so no matter which way you turned these, the holes had all lined up. But I just checked them, and if it's turned this way, then these holes don't line up. So I marked it with a marker here, so if it turns this way, then these holes should line up with the holes in here. Well, that just slides inside that bulb angle like that on the web. And all right, that one's in. And we got the punch in there just a little too far. Well, now I'll try to slide. See, it fits right down in there on top of that bulb and then right in against the web. Okay, that one is in. I'm going to try to slide the bolt in the bottom hole in here, and I want the bolt head on this side with the nut on the other side, theoretically. And that's going to be a pain. Alright, I've slipped a little bit of peralkatone on this bolt. I'm going to try to slide it in this hole down here, the bottom hole, which of course is the one I can't see. No, it doesn't want to go. There it went. Alright, there we go. They got it that far. It's through this leg of the bracket out here and through both of the spacers, but don't quite line up with that hole in the mount itself. Let's see if I can't get it to thread in there. It almost lines up with it, but I think when I spread this out to make it fit over that spar, it distorts that just a little bit. That's not even close to lining up there. Let's get it. Alright, that's not going to work like that. Those holes don't even come close to lining up. They're half of a screw diameter off. That ain't right. Alright, well, I pulled this second one here and I tried it, and it is the same thing as the first one. The holes just don't line up. The holes are too high compared to the holes in the spar. So there's an aluminum pad in here that goes down against the spar, and there's a rivet on there, a flathead rivet, and it looks like the only other option for me to do other than reaming these holes out anymore, which I don't want to do. I don't want to ream them out to oversize. I'll take a file and file down this. As you can see, it's rubbing on top of that spar anyway, so this rivet stands proud of that pad in there, and so it wouldn't hurt to file that all down a little bit. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, this one, the rivet doesn't stand proud. it's flush, at least as flush as I could tell. I could feel just a corner of it right there, but this is still too thick to allow the holes in this to go down to line up with the spar, holes in the spar. So I get my file out and sit down and do a little bit of file work for a few minutes and see if I can get this thing to fit. Well, I've taken this thing down 3 times now and tested it. Well, we'll see if the third time's a charm here. Now to put this on, you have to pull it out and put those ears down over the spar cap. And then you have to do the same thing on the bottom. Well, it's kind of tough getting in there in the bottom to pull those ears out and to get that down there without scratching the heck out of that bottom of that spar. So what I've found is if you take a couple pieces of aluminum and stick in there, and then that thing just slides right down on there, just like it was meant to go. Oh, now we'll see how I'm coming with my bolt. I gotta get, well, it goes through there just right now. It wouldn't hurt to come down just a little bit more. Well, it's pretty close. That other bolt went down on the floor here. I'll get it, wipe it up. Yeah, the other bolt just both of them rubbed down on the bottom of that thing. So I'm going to take just a few more swipes off of that with the file. Considering I've already reamed those holes out, that's not a very good fit. So okay, 4th time's a charm. Boy, I can't imagine somebody trying to do that, fit that in there with the fabric still on the wing and the wing still attached to the airplane. Alright, that's a good fit in that hole. That's a good fit in that hole. Now we're back to square one. I'm going to slide this over a little bit and dab a little bit of peralcatone in the holes. Let's see, I want to put the bolts in from the front side, so I'll put this front one in first. I'm going to start this bolt in the bottom hole first because I want the top hole to put the ground wire on. Okay, there's that. Let me get the other one. Okay, all right. I'll put the bolt in the top hole. Now what did I do with that bolt? I just had it in my hand a second ago. There it is. Now that one, I'll put my ground wire on. Okay, that's good. Now I got to go get the nuts and washers to put on there. I left them over on the bench where they'd be out of the way. That bottom one is a challenge to get on. All right. I burred up the threads a little bit on that, trying to get it in there a while ago, so we'll have to, I got it straight on there anyway. Good. A little dollop of peralkatone on everything. Magic elixir. Okay, there is the Atlee Dodge aircraft tie-down brackets. It doesn't say anything in here about having to file that plate down on there. And the old Atlee Dodge stuff, I would have bet we wouldn't have had to, but Atlee is long gone, and a major company bought them out. So I don't know whether they're more focused on production than they are with quality control or not. I know the company's brand name stuff is quality control leaves a lot to be desired, but that is actually not a bad piece. It's pretty heavy duty, solid stainless steel around there. Got that aluminum pad riveted in to the top to cushion between the stainless steel and the spar. And then it's got aluminum blocks for spacers in between the web of the spar and the bracket. There's parts that didn't come with it. There we go here. There's an AN6-11 alpha bolt, and of course a nut that goes with that. And then there is a clevis and a ring for the tie down. You can see those there. And those aren't included in this. I would think they should be included in it. Well, there's a clevis and tie down ring there. But they're not included in it. So I'm going to have to get, I'm pretty sure I got an AN6-11 alpha bolts around someplace. And the nuts, of course, to go with it. We'll see if we can't find a clevis someplace. And a ring for tie down. But that doesn't have to happen now. That can happen anytime in the future, because the main thing on there was to get that on there now so we can get the fabric cover on that. So I didn't have to cut a hole in the fabric to put it in, which I probably would not have done. So anyway, that looks pretty good. All right, now to putting fabric on. I don't know. I was thinking about starting that today, and I didn't get to it today. I wound up driving out the road to look at the sand pit where I get sand to see if I could get out there. The snow is all gone out that road, and everything is clear out there, so I can go out and get sand. We're just waiting to get back from the Forest Service officer to see if we get my permit or not. There won't be a problem getting it. I've got it for probably 10 years now. We've been getting mineral permits from the Forest Service and hauling rock and sand out of different pits and stuff around here. Most of this property has all been filled, but had mud dug out of it and dumped someplace else, and then had rock and stuff out of these pits brought in. I wanted to get some sand for my septic drain field. Anyway, I drove out the road today and looked at that, and we were looking to see if we'd find any bear sign, see if the bears were out yet. But we didn't see any bear sign yet. Like I said, the roads are all clear, the snow is all gone, but no bear sign yet. Hooters, spruce grouse are hollering. They're hooting, and there were people out driving around the roads, I assume. Probably some guys looking for bears, maybe. Hunters, but probably guys looking for hooters, too. I'm not too worried about that mess that peralkatone makes up in there. Anyway, that is on. I'm glad I got that done. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Like I said, it's supposed to be a nice day tomorrow, and we're going to order another truckload of sand from the Sand and Gravel Company to get delivered tomorrow. And then I've got to get a load of drain rock, 5 yards of drain rock, to make a French drain to drain the surface water away from my drain field. And then we can finish backfilling the septic tank, start seeing what we got to do to finish making the mound for the drain field system, leach field. Anyway, that's enough for one night. It's midnight again. It took a lot longer. Should have only taken about 15 minutes to do that whole thing, but it wound up taking me an hour and a half.